versus, because they did make some major changes in it. But he said when he walked away after doing that movie, it left him open that he believed there is aliens and abductions and all this stuff going on.
Well, I got to meet James Gardner. It was at the Bel Air Country Club in Los Angeles.
Nice guy.
And, well, a friend of mine was a member there and invited me out to play one day. And when you exit the ninth hole at Bel Air, the caddies take your clubs, or the staff, whoever they are, they'll take your cart and they'll drive it up the hill, because you have to go into the clubhouse, and to get to the 10th tee, you have to take the elevator up to the second floor of the Bel Air Country Club. It's very unique. So somebody's taking your cart around with your clubs. You go into the clubhouse, you take the elevator up, and when we exited, James Gardner was getting onto the elevator, and my friend introduced him to me. And it was a wonderful moment. It was how the gates of heaven open up for you. Well, that was one of those moments, and I had 120-second, chit-chat with him. I'm just falling all over this guy. But you're right. The movie was a Hollywoodization of the Travis story, and Jennifer Stein's movie is the more fact-based, not any less entertaining, but that is the true story of Travis, rather than, them compounding characters into one character and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine what his friends went through, going through all those polygraph tests? I mean, they were trying to hang him, one way or another for murder, and they all passed. And it was just like, of course, I don't blame law enforcement. They're doing their job. But I tell you, the whole circumstance around that whole situation where I could see the point, okay? They got scared, they took off, and then they, well, at least the one guy decided and talked to him, we need to go back. Did Travis ever talk about that at all? Did he have any ill feelings towards any of the guys or anything?
If he did, he never mentioned that to me. I found him to be very open with me. He didn't know me at all. Jennifer Stein was basically like, and I barely knew Jennifer, but eventually, we went up and did that job for her. We did a little science experiment up there and gave her the results. But I found Travis to be very open with me. In fact, he told me things I promised never to repeat. And I found them very, very interesting and revealing. And yes, they had to do with his experience, and there are things he did not publish. So I felt that the fact that he entrusted that to me was, just above and beyond what I fully expected. And again, the thing I noticed about Travis, he is so giving of his time. When he's at a conference, you want to get a picture, he's right there. And he's so obliging, and he's so available, and he's so open. And for me, in my book, I don't think there's a better documented case. Like you said, not only did he pass all those polygraph tests, his truckmates passed all those polygraph tests, and even the worst scum on the planet, the bunkers who tried everything they could to discredit him were unsuccessful, and it's withstood the test of time. So, how many times do you get witnesses of that credibility and such a story? You just don't. So, for me, I appreciate who he is, and the fact that he is so open and generous with his time, for me, is just super impressive. It says a lot about his character.
Oh, it does. And, I'm glad he's going around and telling about his experience. I will say this, you could take a group of 4 people and, maybe one person could fool a polygraph test. Maybe 2 could, but not all of them. And they just didn't have one test from what I remember. They had several tests, and they all kept passing it. So, I mean, it is so documented, that whole situation. I can also see how the other people felt afterwards, because they left their acquaintance, their friend, and I can see they were, how shook up they must have been, pulling down a couple miles away from there, sitting and talking and trying to figure out what to do and how to handle the situation. I mean, I could see the point. It's, you go report it to law enforcement, they knew right then and there that it was going to be a major situation on hand.
That's absolute truth. And, there's another part of the question that you asked, whether or not these visitors are benevolent or not. When Victoria joins us, she's going to give you her opinion on that. And I will certainly voice my opinion on that. Victoria being the principal character in my new book, Victoria's Secret Truth, which is a story of somebody who has experienced close encounters of the seventh kind, which we'll gladly define for you later. But in Travis's case, I think, let me back up. Everybody's mileage will vary. So Travis, he doesn't believe that the spaceship was weaponized, and he just believes he was the victim of an accident, and that the guys who took him in did a wonderful job in putting him back in a place where they knew he would be able to contact. They could have dropped him off anywhere in this great country, and they left him, several hundred yards from a payphone. Think about that. So, and a payphone, which he could just, in those days, just, hit the receiver a couple times, and was able to call his sister and, get a ride home. So for him, it was an accident, and they fixed him. But when we talk to Victoria, you'll see that her experience is remarkably different from Travis's experience.
Well, that's the thing, too, is because, some of the connections I have, being in radio as long as I have pictures from, how cattle mutilations. I got pictures of human mutilations from the Amazon, from Brazil, from the rainforest. And when I had those pictures sent to me and I looked at them, and I could tell they weren't fake. That's another thing. I can tell you are a photographer. I got interested in photography back when I was like 6 years old. Besides doing radio, I was a professional photographer. I shot for a couple big companies in my past. I was well known at one point, but photography kind of like when digital came out, I kind of got burned out on it. I'm sorry to say, but I don't know. It's a lot of things out there that it really kind of scare me. And, I get these people on my show that, they say, oh, there's 25 million UFOs circling the earth here to protect mankind. And I start wondering, okay, what hospital did they get out of?
Yeah, my opinion is I'm neutral. I'm open, but, if they wanted to preserve us, wouldn't they grant us free energy? Why wouldn't they, openly share their technology? Are they, maybe they're leaking it slowly but surely, and we can only adapt to this new technology, one great discovery at a time. But if you think about Victoria's situation, she's an individual who has willingly or unwillingly been part of an alien breeding program. And she's not the first one to report this. There are other books, there are many other individuals that have come out and have made these claims. So, is that for our benefit? These hybrids that are being produced, is that for our benefit? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that at this point.
I don't either. I mean, you can sit there and think of so many different things. Maybe it's at one point to take over our planet. Who knows? I have a weird feeling anyway, and a lot of people look at me, on my show as like, hey, I'm crazy. I think this planet has been rebooted several times. I don't think that we're the original inhabitants of this planet, and maybe we are the aliens in one form or another. And it's too many things that point that how mankind originated well, the Darwin theory doesn't hold up anymore. And and I look at things that sometimes I look at maybe our planet is nothing more than a farm. And that maybe originally it was for all the minerals we have on our planet, gold, silver, regardless maybe where you come from. Electronic devices use gold. They use silver. In fact, there's a silver shortage right now because of virtually everything electronic has to have silver in it. And it just makes me wonder, how we originated and if we are aliens ourselves.
Yeah, that's always a good question. I guess I'm not that deep of a thinker. I just worry about, when my next tea time is going to happen.
Well, I know mine's about 6 times a day, Ray. But, I'm doing a show. We probably talk about 15 times a month about aliens and UFOs on it. So after a long period of doing shows, you just kind of, your mind kind of expands and you have to be open to anything.
Well, you do. And the thing about this subject matter is it's so wide, it's so long, it's so deep. And I call them rabbit holes. I'm sure other people do. That you can go down the rabbit hole in an instant. With the publication of these 2 books and, radio shows like yours that get lots of airplay and lots of attention, folks contact me and they send me stuff. And I'm talking good stuff, like photographs that I could not debunk or videos that I could not debunk. Now, there's others that, I'll let them off the hook by saying they try to prank me by sending me things, and I can quickly, through a little dialogue, figure out how they did it or that type of thing. But there's so much information coming my way in evidence of UFOs and orbs and things, and I'm talking good stuff. And I've seen lots of this. That I'm saying. Is it just because we have this technology now that everybody has a super duper camera that we're seeing more of this? But there's a lot of evidence and it's speeding up. I can't keep up with it. I just tell people, I'll give it a look, but I'll just give you my opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot you can blame it on the internet because that's, what got it going. I will say a friend of mine who's no longer with us, Art Bell, if it wasn't for him, I don't think the paranormal, which UFOs fall underneath as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it would have been as talked about and as accepted by people. He was one of the forerunners who would talk about it on a regular basis with guests. And it got, it out to the public. Back 20 years ago, if you started talking to somebody about UFOs or aliens or being abducted, you kind of would back off from the people, a couple of feet away. You're going okay, I wonder what mental hospital they got out of. Nowadays, people aren't scared, to talk about it. They're open. If they see a UFO, they're talking about it. But it's one thing, Ray, I've noticed. Back in the 70s when I first started out doing broadcasting, doing talk radio, people were talking about UFOs. They were 50 feet around, 75 feet, maybe 150 feet in diameter. It seems like in the last 2 years, I'm not hearing about that so much anymore. I'm hearing things that they're huge. They're about the size of a Walmart store, that, they're L-shaped, they're this, that. What are you noticing different?
Well, I had my own sighting. This was in first week of December, 2011. And I had retired in the last day of September 2011. 2010, I had an accident, and a young man ran a red light, and I hit him broadside, and then a truck plowed into the back end of my car, and it made my Honda Accord into an accordion. So it did. And it totaled the car. And as a result, I wound up eventually going to physical therapy once I had a herniated disc. I had many other injuries, but I was coming back from a physical therapy appointment in first week of December 2011, and we had one of the